SVS, a name synonymous with bang-for-your-buck subwoofers at a variety of performance points, has re-entered the speaker market with their top-of-the-line Ultra Series speakers. Consisting of 4 models, each of the speakers shares traits such as aluminum tweeters, glass composite mid-low frequency drivers, dual 5-way gold-plated binding posts, and a pin and cup grill retention system. Each is available in either piano black gloss or real black oak veneer. The most interesting and distinctive of the series, the Ultra Towers have a striking appearance. Each stands an imposing 45 inches tall, with a face 9.5 inches wide at the front, expanding to 14 inches where it meets an angled back panel. This limits the parallel surfaces and reduces internal standing waves that can color frequency response. Dual woofers peak out on each side of the sturdy 75-pound speaker near the base, and provide the foundation of a 28 to 32 kHz frequency response. A rear port can be plugged with an included foam plug for more gradual roll-off at the lowest frequencies. This may be desirable when placement of speakers in the room naturally reinforces low frequencies. Rubber spikes come pre-threaded, though metal spikes are also included. A more compact, 2-way version of the Towers, each bookshelf shares the tweeter, 6.5-inch driver, and rear port of the Towers in a 19-pound package, and digs down to 45 Hz. There are no threaded feet in any of the other speakers in the series, but adhesive rubber nubs are included to prevent marring surfaces. The 3-way center is also utilizing the 1-inch tweeter and 6.5-inch woofers, but adds a 4-inch mid-range in a vertical configuration, crossed over at 500 Hz, to reduce frequency lobbing off axis. Dual rear ports enable a 45 Hz low end for plenty of overlap when crossing over with a subwoofer. Also in the series is a surround speaker that can be run as a bipole, dipole, or 2 individual channels in duet mode. As my listening space is open, lacking back and side walls, it made more sense to use the bookshelves on tall stands for surround channels in my test setup, and I did not receive this speaker for review. Receiving the SVS Ultra series was the first time that I'd had speakers delivered on a freight pallet. This meant that they arrived in warehouse condition with nary a dent in the corrugated packaging. Not that it would have mattered. Each was cradled in several inches of high-density foam and bagged. All could be easily carted solo, with the exception of the Towers, which required 2 pairs of hands, or at least a lot of determination, to unpack and place. I did have some trouble fitting one of the Tower grills. The culprit was a seemingly misset pin which required a mild bowing of the grill to set. A quick email to SVS rendered this response straight from Gary Yacobian, the CEO of SVS. We have a 45-day unconditional satisfaction guarantee and a 5-year warranty on all products. If there were even the slightest issue with any product, or a component of a product, we would replace it immediately and without question. SVS's customer service before and after the sale remains one of its strongest selling points. Still, I couldn't help but think that magnetic grills may have alleviated this issue, along with making them easier to remove and presenting a cleaner face. The driver's appearance is quite striking, and the tweeter is branded with the SVS logo, so it seems there was consideration for folks wanting to run these naked. I did a variety of 2- and multi-channel listening, utilizing both the Towers and bookshelves as left-right mains, switching occasionally with my JBL S310-2s, all with and without an SVS PV12 NSD subwoofer. I cycled through a variety of material, including an 88 kHz by 24-bit recording of Red Letter Year by Ani DeFranco from HD Tracks, and Feist The Reminder. Without a subwoofer, the Towers proved more than capable of producing a full, extended, and controlled low end. The bookshelves were also capable, but fared less well by comparison. In a smaller room, you might get by without a sub, but the bookshelves really came alive in my larger main listening room once the subwoofer was added to fill out the lowest frequencies. Mid-frequencies, such as those present in male and female voices, were clear and natural. For the center channel, I did prefer the integration of a single bookshelf as opposed to the dedicated center with the Tower speakers. Perhaps the more similar driver complement of the Tower and bookshelves integrated better, but I also heard and measured a little more energy in the lower mid-range from my listening spot. But for folks who need the horizontal configuration, the trade-off is minimal. For all the Ultra Series speakers, high-frequency reproduction was controlled, natural, and extended, even when pushing my volume levels to the top range of my Onkyo TX SR706 receiver. Measurement and specs showed even response through the upper limits of hearing with the speaker's 32 kHz response. By contrast, my JBLs were more lively, but ragged at high volumes, and downright unpleasant when you really start cranking. At lower volumes, I preferred the more forward and present high-frequency presentation of the JBLs that made cymbals, hi-hats, and tambourines cut through the busy mid-frequency. However, when the decibels rise, the SVS's more laid-back character and natural response remains composed, where the JBLs start to lose control and break up. I found this to be the biggest area of distinction between the SVS Ultras and some other speakers I've heard. Personally, I wouldn't describe them as airy, crystalline, or any other buzzy term tossed around hi-fi circles. Instead, I would call them natural and controlled at any volume, which some may find staid in comparison to wild, less neutral personas like those of the JBLs. I made the SVS Ultras my primary speakers for several weeks, and after running through every usage scenario that exists in my main listening room, my take is that these are beautiful, capable speakers that are also a terrific value. I find the aesthetics of the towers to be simply gorgeous. With their tall, sleek faces meeting a broad, angular back, the cabinet design is artful in a way that few $1,000 speakers can touch. However, from a performance standpoint, I think the real star of the show are the bookshelves. They retain the best of the towers, including composed and natural response, even at high volumes, while sacrificing only the lower register and frequency response. Mated with one of SVS's subwoofers, this becomes a non-issue, and at $499 each, you have a beautiful looking and performing system. In a multi-channel system, if your setup allows for the form factor, I think this is the only speaker you need. While I wished for a more forward presentation at lower volumes, the fatigueless sound of the Ultras produced at high volumes was a fair trade-off. Overall, I think SVS has hit the mark of creating remarkable speakers at a head-turning price. True to their pedigree, the Ultra series may lack some small filigree like magnetic grills, but their performance stands toe-to-toe with much more expensive contenders. Coupled with SVS's first-class customer service and customer bill of rights, you can't go wrong.